10 years ago, I lived through the most terrifying night of my life. Even now, I still dream of it, smelling the choking smoke, hearing the crackle of burning skin, as if it were happening all over again. In our town, there was an abandoned old building called the Ashford Theater. Built in the early 1900s, it had a dark history. On its opening night, a massive fire broke out. Dozens of people were burned alive, their bodies charred beyond recognition. The building was rebuilt, but its shadow lingered. Eventually, it was left to rot on the edge of town. One night, my friends and I dared each other to go inside. We were supposed to stay there until midnight. The front doors were chained shut, but through a broken window, we slipped inside. The air was thick with dust, spider webs, and the faint smell of mildew. The theater seats were covered in a gray, ash-like film. It felt as if the walls themselves had absorbed the screams of the dead. When the clock struck 12, the air turned icy. Our breath became visible. Emily, my friend, shivered and whispered, "Something's not right here." And then, without warning, the old gas lamps above the stage flickered to life on their own. First, we heard faint crackling. Then came a muffled scream, distant, but chilling. James's face went pale. "Did you hear that? Someone's crying. A woman." The smell hit us next. Burnt flesh. It was so strong we gagged, coughing, choking on smoke that seemed to come from nowhere. Yet, there was no real fire. When we turned back to the stage, we saw her, a figure standing in the center. Her dress was blackened, her skin charred. Half her face had melted away, but her eyes glowed like embers. She opened her mouth and shrieked. It was the sound of dozens of dying voices woven into one. Panic exploded. James ran to the doors, but they wouldn't budge. The chains rattled, as if being pulled tighter by invisible hands. The theater seats suddenly ignited, flames roaring upward with no fuel to feed them. And then we heard them screams everywhere, voices rising all around us. It was as if every soul that had perished in that first fire had come back, desperate, furious. Emily collapsed, shrieking. I rushed to her, but then I saw it blackened, skeletal hands clawing out from the stage floor, wrapping around her ankles. They were pulling her down. I grabbed her arms, but those hands crumbled into ash, dragging her with them. In a second, she was gone. James and I backed away, horrified. The scorched walls began to shift. Faces formed in the plaster, dozens of them, twisted, burned, screaming silently at us. Some whispered, "Stay with us, burn with us." Suddenly, there was a deafening roar, a burst of fire so bright I thought my skin would melt. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for death. When I opened them, I was lying outside, on the cold asphalt, alone. The theater stood quietly before me. No flames, no smoke, not a single trace of what had happened. Emily and James were gone, completely vanished. The police never believed me. They said we had never gone inside. They listed Emily and James as missing, but no one connected it to that cursed building. And yet, every night since, I dream of that stage. I see the burned woman stepping toward me. She extends her hand, her voice whispering in my ear, "It's your turn." And when I wake up, the stench of burned flesh fills my room.